I can edit it out, but I can't.
We're here doing a live podcast in Reno, Nevada.
Live podcast.
Doug, you want to say something? Say something. Just doing like a sound check.
Hey man, Doug Logan.
All right, Steve,
Yup, you hear me?
speak, put a little bit.
You good?
Yeah.
Any more?
You can squeeze in just a little bit more
Yeah,
between
okay.
you and. I don't gotta worry about Doug. They'll hear Doug wherever he's sitting at.
Oh Lord, oh Lord.
All right.
Racial profile.
All right. 3, 2, 1, and welcome to another episode of the Hood Grace Podcast. It's your boy, Pastor Rudy Rubio of the Reformed Church of Los Angeles in the city of Linwood. And next to me is,
Pastor Chris, RCLA Wilmington.
see always on the gang signs, the
Yeah,
two
man.
gang members throwing up gang signs.
Yeah.
You said crazy Mexicans, right, Doug?
I thought that was a Trinity.
Four fingers. Hey, Doug. 4 fingers up, 2 twists in the middle.
I thought that was the Holy Ghost.
Introduce yourself, Doug.
Doug Logan, Church in Hard Places, Grimkey Seminary.
Say that with some authority, though, man. Say that with some conviction, like.
Put some bass in your chest. In your voice. You're like, no, I'm Steve. Steve at Rise Ventura. Work for A29 Diversity Director.
Arise, baby.
All day.
Rise.
All day.
Rise.
Harvey Turner, Redeemer Burbank.
Oh Lord, oh Lord.
Is it? Have you got used to saying that yet?
No, one time I wrote up a job description
Uh-huh.
and I put living stones on it.
Oh, did you?
And I somehow presented it, got through, and I presented it to the elders, and they're like, "This is living stones on it." And I was like, "Oh, sorry."
Oh, my bad.
Just so my mind's so.
You're fired.
Just so you know, one of our
outta
elder
here.
candidates, when he would do the call to worship, right? Remember at the beginning, he would get up there and he would give the call to worship and welcome everybody. But with the church name we used to be in, we're like looking at him like, "Oh man, dude, like you just, you know." Anyways,
Yeah.
Brian.
Brian Howard, Acts 29 USWest, and Acts 29 US.
So for y'all that are watching, if you don't have much understanding or knowledge of what Acts 29 is, these are some of the heaviest hitters. So I'm really honored, to be with you guys. I don't mean that just to,
Thanks, man.
I'm being sincerely, huh?
Oh,
I was talking about these dudes over here. These dudes over here. What was the hashtag you said? Who said that? Something team nothing or a whole lot of nothing? Who said that today?
I don't know.
Somebody said that today. But anyways, what are we doing here, guys? We're at Living Stones,
Yeah.
your old church.
Yep. I planted this church 16 years ago.
16 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just moved to the LA area 7 months ago. Or
Seven.
I've been preaching there for 7 months. I moved there in June.
Amen. Amen.
We just got done doing a big conference here in Reno for Acts 29 West, which is 13 western states of the United States. And we all just got done speaking and doing a conference and just wrapped that up here in the last 3 days in Reno.
They got done speaking, all 4 of them. I don't do nothing but run. The only thing I run is my mouth. my blog the other day, I said, I ain't running nothing but my mouth.
Hey, that was a dope blog, too.
Right? Anyway, so for me, it was my first gathering with Acts 29. We just recently came in the network. I remember I got an email, I think it was like September 6th or something. It was from Brian Howard. I was like, my heart started thumping like, Brian Howard. Why in the world would Brian Howard be sending me?
Hey, you should tell my kids that, man. You should tell my kids to get nervous. They're like,
So your dog gets nervous now, right?
Exactly.
And I get an email from Brian Howard. I'm like, yo, what happened? It's like, officially welcoming us. And I was like, and then I got a couple other emails from some people. And it felt good, like automatically being embraced. Even though I was already banging Acts 29 way before, bro.
Yeah.
Sure you are.
You know my Sunday morning videos, right?
Yeah.
What did I say on Sunday morning?
Get to church with the Acts 29 mug.
With my coffee mug.
Signifies,
right.
But y'all talked about some really, really good stuff, man. Like Brian talked about shepherding and leadership, and Doug talked about leadership development, and y'all two together, yes, forgive me for sticking my hand across your face, bro. We're talking about hospitality in the hood, in our homes, and what that looks like. And I love the way Harvey just let us out with prayer. He just stepped in and just like, okay, now all this stuff is irrelevant if we don't count on the Holy Spirit. Like y'all might be gifted, but it's the Holy Spirit that leads. And it was like a little reality check before we go home. Like, you're not all that in a bag of chips. It's God, you know. And you just sat there and looked pretty the whole time. So I want to make sure I give my boy props as always. But guys, let's talk about the conference. You know, what did you like? What were you looking forward to coming? And did you get it?
Yeah.
And talk a little loud. Not you. You can talk regular, but these guys need to talk loud.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I love the West. Love what Harvey and Brian have been building for years. And then to see their dream of upcoming leaders and diverse team when I think about Rebecca's amazing work of making it, the logistics amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the word was rich, the relationships were rich, the fellowship was rich. And everybody came up as a teacher, not an expert.
Mm-hmm.
So people walked away feeling like they could go home and do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes conferences are super duper experts where you feel like you failed in life
Yeah.
because the guy up there, the way he's talking, it's like it can't be done. So I feel good. I feel good to participate, man. Last time I was here, I did leadership development, building from the broken, and this time, by God's grace, through some growth and development and some mentoring, man, I sought to expand that talk to talk about comprehensive development, and I'll say this, and I'm out. And for me, it was seeing some of my heroes go to heaven and take their stuff with them.
I remember.
And yeah, I love some preachers. I grew up in a church in Patterson, New Jersey, Christ Temple Baptist Church, and that pastor, Reverend Robinson, was faithful man, godly man, pastored over 50 years.
Was he black?
He was black.
Was that the dude you told me about that he called you right before he
That's
passed
another
away?
conversation.
No, that was
a Hispanic dude.
Yeah, that was
He
Pastor Manny Ortiz.
Yeah.
He called me about a month and a half before, right when my book came out. And so, yeah, man, that pastor, just a faithful African-American pastor, he wouldn't say he was a phone, he would never say ecclesiology, but he would say Jesus a lot, and he would live Jesus a lot. And I don't have anything to record of his 50-some odd years in ministry. And I wish I did. So I'm really so the comprehensive idea of development in the church is so important, because, I mean, we got genealogies in Matthew and Luke, right? We've got records of the numbers. Like, we need that for the next generation.
Yeah, I appreciated what you said there. And then the thing is Brian, I get to see him all the time on Zoom calls where you can ask him a question and he'll pop into a Google Drive or whatever he uses. And it's like documents on documents and folders on folders. He's like, oh, I got this, I'll send it to you. He shared whole folders with me, video content, written content, and it's all there. And it's like, yeah, you can go to heaven and leave that with us. When you said that, I literally thought just about people that I've been able to see and kind of pull that from. I mean, they say about Spurgeon. I love Spurgeon. People know I carry Urban Spurgeon as a little moniker or whatever. Reality is, bro, they said Spurgeon wasn't even the best preacher. He was the only one that was writing. Right? He was writing.
Wow.
Right. They said there was a lot of people killing it around this time.
How about you, Harvey? What were your expectations coming into the conference and coming back home to Reno?
Yeah, so we started this conference, I think it was 8 years ago, maybe 7, something like that. When we started it, 37 people, and
Wow.
yeah,
37
people, I think, yeah. And we just wanted to get some movement on the West,
Yeah.
and so we started a little conference, and we would invite speakers, and we'd do a little fellowship, we'd hang out at night. The next year, it was double that. And now here we are this year, several years later, 800 and how many people?
I think about 870.
870
Now,
people.
were there people recording what happened on the casino floor before, like Doug was talking about?
Maybe.
I didn't see anything happen on the casino.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's because I was in bed.
I was reading the scriptures.
Yeah.
But we just want to plant churches in the Western United States.
That's good.
So
And
how many churches do we have in the USWest right now?
122.
Yeah.
122.
And then we've got some candidates too. So I don't know.
16 candidates.
And that's 13 states?
Yeah.
Yep. 81 million people.
Mhm.
At least no more than 10% Christian. If you look at Los Angeles, it's less than that. So 90% of those 81 million people would not even claim to be Christians. So in the city that I live in Orange County, 6% of the people say that they're Christians.
That's crazy.
6%?
6%. Non-Catholics. Okay, so 29% say they're Catholic,
Uh-huh.
6% say they're Christians. So we got a lot of work to do.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Okay. So coming back home, it felt good, Harvey, seeing
Yeah.
your 37 people
Yeah.
conference turn into like over 800.
Yeah, it's crazy to see this, and I know just the potential is there for even more churches to be planted. We set out when we set out to do this. We were just we wanted to see churches planted. We had a vision, but we had no idea it would turn into this.
Yeah.
So what happened was in the history of it is, I was leading until it was maybe about 40 churches or something like that. Then Brian moved back out west. He's from the West, moved back out west. I met up with him, and basically I was like, hey, it's gotten to this point. I don't know what to do with it now. I know it's going to go further. We need a guy like you. And so the leadership passed off to Brian, and from there it just exponential growth because he was putting structure to some of the vision.
So would you say you're at level 5 at a pinnacle, or?
You're not allowed to say that about yourself.
Well, you see, you did it. I said it. Right? I'm the one that suggested.
I'm probably
it.
too young. Man. I'm probably too young.
What has this experience been like for you, Brian? Because you run not just the USWest, but now it's the whole United States, if I'm not mistaken. And that's recent, right?
Yeah. So Harvey and I were both in Acts 29, and Doug, a long time ago, in the very, very early days. We call it Acts 29 1.0. And and so we were here when all of Acts 29 was 75 or 100 churches.
That's right.
And I left for a little while, started a network called Sojourn Network, as some of you guys know. And then when I came back to the Western U.S., Harvey knew we had to have somebody to build this thing. So Living Stones, I think it was Living Stones that invested money and said, we are going to bring Brian on to build this thing. And I just have kind of done what I do, get the right people in the room. We've got a really good team of people, like I had very little to do with this conference. I made a few small decisions. Like I picked the speakers for the most part, but other than that, we just have a team that built this. And then what we're doing now is we're taking what we have done so well in the West, and then there's 4 other networks in the United States. And it's time for us to put, and some of those networks are going all right. I mean, there's good Acts 29 churches all across the United States.
Sure.
It's just that we need to build a little infrastructure in some of those networks. And so I've stepped into that, and I'm overseeing the other 4 leaders that oversee those networks.
Awesome. Anything you want to share, Steve, about your expectations coming?
Good, man. It's been good for me. I at the end of the day, I was a spectator on the outside for a number of years. About 5 years ago, was very intently focused on we need to move into Acts 29. We're church planting back in my neighborhood. We're trying to move our church there. God moved me out of that church, and when he did that, I just went to the guy who's the associate network director alongside Brian, Sean Garman, and was like, hey, man, we're not going to be doing it, but I still got to figure this out. And so Sean called me to be on staff with him, and that's how I ended up moving out. But it's just been a realization of what I feel like God put on my heart. Missional innovation is something that absolutely needs to come to our communities, backed by some real robust theology and gospel centeredness. And so it's just been I feel like I get to enjoy it.
And for me, even though it was one, and I want to ask Chris about his expectations, but for me, it was coming like that early 8 o'clock. I was like, man, I gotta be at 8 o'clock in the morning for the lead pastor meeting.
Me too.
And I get there, and when I stood up to say my name and what church we're at, there's like a whole bunch of homies like, what's up? And I was like, oh, like it felt so good. No, really, it felt so good,
That's what A29's about, right there.
And so the camaraderie, the being embraced, knowing. So like, real quick analogy. I don't want to take up time away from you, but I remember I met Doug at TGC 500 when we started talking about the whole dual affiliation, and then at Exponential 2 years ago. Eric Mason was there, and so was Ryan Kwan. And Ryan Kwan expounded a little bit more on what the dual affiliation was. And the best analogy I've heard so far was that he said it was like the denomination. I told you, Doug, is like it's like my grandparents. Like I love them, they love me, they got the best interests out for me, and they'll look out for me and take care of me. But they're my grandparents. They don't get me fired up. Like the A29 homies, like those are the homies. They know what they feel me, they get me, they roll their sleeves up. We spur each other on, like we know exactly what we're talking about, and I felt that. I felt that even before getting Brian's email, like I felt that, So to be able to do that to me it was dope. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I honestly didn't want to come.
You don't love Reno?
You don't even like getting up out of bed in the morning, bro.
I got you that awful burger, man.
That's crazy.
But then, he bought the burger, so it was all good. I can't. I think out of all the conferences that I've been to, I think this has been my favorite, simply because of the season in life that I'm in, getting ready to plant again, and in a hard place, and especially your guys' talk, the workshop on
Good hospitality.
That was really good.
It was super good. And I was like, my whole notebook that they gave us at the beginning, I filled that thing out completely at that workshop.
So Steve,
I was gonna just tell you, can you just email me the
I got you.
because I was like,
I'll give you the whole thing.
I was like,
Absolutely.
I was writing word for word.
Bro, I was gonna record it, and I told Steve, hey, can I record it? He's like, nah, just Yeah, do it. No, don't do it.
Yeah, I was
don't
going
do
back
it.
and forth. I'm like,
And then he was like,
no.
"Nah, you know what? I go, you want to give McCarthy to say something dumb?
Hey,
I'll have it come back and bite you."
That I be causing problems there all the time. Whatever.
Guys, I know we don't have a lot of time. I know Brian's got to go, but I want to make sure that if there's one thing that you could say, and feel free to expound as much as you need, from your perspective on this conference, with what you spoke, your experience, that you want people either watching right now or listening later on iTunes to know, right? Like you killed it with some of the stuff you did on shepherding. Like a lot of stuff, was like, oh man, development and leadership and shepherding and the levels. And I'm like, man, we're heavy on theology and doctrine, but there's let's say there's a large margin for improvement on just practical leadership stuff.
Yeah,
So, well, what could you tell us, right?
All right, here's what I would say. I would say in our theologically oriented world, where we care about the scripture and we should, we care about theology and we should, we sometimes forget to grow and improve as leaders. We almost make this secular Christian sort of dichotomy. This is godly and this is secular.
Yeah.
And so in my session today, I spoke for about 40 minutes, 5 minutes too long. But in my session today, I talked about the fact that the biblical word for shepherd in Psalm 23 has 5 connotations. It's lead, guide, feed, care, protect. Sometimes we're good at the protect, care, and feed part, but we're not so good at the lead and guide part. And so essentially what I challenged everybody with in my session today, lead pastors, children's directors, small groups pastors, women's ministry directors, no matter where you're at, is you have to lead well. And that really, I'll just leave you here with sort of 3 quick things. One thing would be you start in leading by building deep relationships with people. And then from there, you need to get stuff done. All right, that would be the second thing. And so it's not enough to just build relationships in ministry. You gotta get stuff done. Call people to a vision. Reach a neighborhood. Go after some teenagers if you're a youth pastor. Go after the local high school. I used to roll up in a 15-passenger van with tinted windows and 4 JL subwoofers and pick up kids and take them to lunch. I was a scary youth pastor in the van, but a lot of kids got saved in that ministry.
Wow.
And then from there, the importance of developing leaders as well. So if I'm leaving you with this, leadership is biblical. It's not secular.
That's good.
And so love the scripture, love prayer, love the word, right? And also be a good leader at the same time.
That's good.
So what you're saying is it's okay to grab non-Christian, non-reformed books and put your hot sauce on it that you carry in your back pocket, right?
That's what Doug
Contextualize
Doug
it. Is that right, Doug? So something along those lines?
He calling you
Little
out.
Lori.
Frank's, baby. Frank's red hot. Little Laurie season salt. That's what it
Rooster
is.
sauce.
How about you, Harvey?
Well, man, I think the thing I would want to say to anybody watching, you want to plant a church, and first of all, you need to be part of a church.
Yeah.
You need to be under good leadership. You need to be submitted to the authority. But if that authority sees in you that you're supposed to plant a church, we want to help you plant churches.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to plant gospel-centered churches with reformed-ish theology. We want to help you plant churches, and especially in the Western United States. So hit us up.
And what are some of the distinctives? Like, why should somebody consider A29 as opposed to the other church planting networks out there? Because there are many of them.
Well, I'll tell you why I like it.
Yeah.
So I believe, when Jesus gives us the Great Commission, okay, what do the disciples do? They immediately go out and start planting churches. So we don't have the Great Commission is go make disciples, but the way they made disciples is they planted churches. So I am absolutely convicted that the way we fulfill the mission in the world is we plant churches. Now, I'm passionate about planting churches, but I want to plant specific kind of churches.
Okay.
I want to plant churches that have the Bible open and they're preaching Christ from the Bible.
Amen.
I want to plant churches also that are evangelistic. And I think that's what I found in Acts 29. I'm like Reformed Baptist. I know some of y'all don't think that's...
That's a whole other conversation, folks. We had one of those till like midnight last night.
He's not Presbyterian.
But that's the theology I
Yeah,
hold.
yeah.
And I know that when we're planting churches, no matter where it's at, in the Western United States, in Europe, in the Middle East, I know that person has a similar theology that I'm convicted about, and they're going to open up the Bible and they're going to teach Christ from the Scriptures. They're going to do it in a Spirit-empowered way, and I want to get behind that. I want to help anybody that wants to do that. I want to get them funded. I want to get them trained. So that's for me. That's what this whole thing is all about. That's what this conference is about. That's why I love Acts 29.
Yeah. And I would even add, to just expound more on what you said, the missional, incarnational, not excarnational, right? See, I was listening.
Yeah, you sure
was
were.
good.
The incarnational, because it's like you talk about Mez and what you guys are doing with church in hard places. Like, we're in a hard place.
Yeah.
And somebody said, all of church planning is hard. A hard situation or a hard circumstance is not necessarily a hard place.
Yeah.
That just compounds more onto it.
I
So
agree.
to know that we belong to a group of people that consider that. It's not just like this is a cookie cutter, planting.
Right.
You just insert your church name, your hip church name, and
Yeah.
your particular eschatology and go forward. And like, no, man, it's like,
And
I love
I'm
that.
glad you brought that up because we want to help dudes plant in hard places.
Yeah.
You know, we're not just about the hipster churches.
Yeah.
We're about planting anywhere.
So you don't got to wear lumberjack skinny jeans and
You don't have
boots? All right, cool.
I don't know any skinny jeans.
But we can if we want.
Yeah.
Okay.
My jeans are a little tight. My lumberjack is open.
But you sag though, bro. But you sag your skinny jeans.
But I sag though. Hey, look, you know what I would say? It just kind of combines what y'all are saying, but puts it in a specific context. Acts 29 is a radically diverse global family.
Yeah.
51 countries, 30-something languages spoken, 800 churches across the world. And the reality is in the USWest, we're making some strides to resource, to train, to cultivate leaders in contexts that are otherwise under-resourced, underrepresented.
Yeah.
And when Brian's talking about the stuff that he's talking about,
Yeah.
the leadership, and when you're talking about planting churches, like the reality is, me and Rudy was able to get a lot of that culture. It shaped us at Emmanuel Church, right?
Yeah.
We at the church in Paramount, we got people talking that way. It develops us. But for the most part, like our contemporaries, they don't have those resources, don't have that access, are not in those conversations. And so my thing is, I just want to encourage people. We're on the Hood Grace podcast with individuals who care about this and are global leaders.
Global.
Right? We're talking about worldwide, like world changers. This is an opportunity and an invitation. You know, I had a phone call this morning and I had a text conversation this morning with guys back home that just been seeing us tweet and Instagram, about the conference. They're like, man, I need to be in there. So it was even good to have y'all here, have other cats from, people that we were in the conversation last year, and now you're here and part of the network.
Yeah.
So I want to see more diversity come, and I want to see that because we have a desire to reach the nations that are in the neighborhoods, and that's going to happen because the best person to reach, right?
Yeah.
The people who are like them is a person who will come to Christ, understand what the gospel means, and how that informs his experience, and he goes and reaches his family and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So
We
I
cross
love that.
cultures for sure, yeah. We cross cultures and everything, but like the stuff y'all are able to do in Linwood, I could reach people in Linwood, I wouldn't reach the same people.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And so the way in which it goes, even though you're building a multi-ethnic church, it's not just multicolored, it's multicultural, the whole deal. But at the end of the day, there is a calling out of Catholicism, calling out of some cultural traditions to where people can understand, like, nah, Christ informs all that. You ain't got to change who you are, but you also don't have to stick with this or that, religion or tradition, just because that's the way you were born. So I want to invite people to really consider being a part of Acts 29 and to jump into some of the stuff we got, especially with Church on Hard Places down back in the city. We have Cultivate. We got some summits coming up in 2020. We got a conference coming. And then I know it's people who look at this from other places, so you holler at Doug about spots that are outside the USWest.
Yeah.
Man, and as
How about you, Bishop?
man, I'm just excited to be here. Excited to be a part of Acts 29. I think about being co-director of Church in Our Places with my partner in crime, Mez McConnell. And even like what Pastor Steve was saying, I mean, listen, I was in Acts 29. I had Dr. Eric Mason, my spiritual father, my pastor, Jerome Gay, Dwayne, and we were like Blacks 29. And,
He said we were Blacks 29.
Hey, I still use that.
And then, I mean, so we banged hard, we were loved, but in terms of engaging our cultural context, that's sort of what we did. And Acts 29 supported, different churches, it supported us in doing that. But to now have that completely swung to, we're going to invest in that. Steve Timmis was great to do that, to say, in terms of driving the charge, By God's grace, we raised the money, but to drive the charge to say we want to specifically go after churches in hard places.
Yeah.
There's very few urban ministries in reform circles.
Yeah.
And that don't go together often.
Is there one particular seminary you want to highlight right now, Doug?
If I was to highlight one, it would be a new startup seminary.
So tell us about it. I'm giving you an opportunity, homie. Come on.
Softball right there. It's a softball.
Pull the lotteries out, homie.
Well, in the midst
You've been
of
off the block.
Amen. I live in the woods now. But yeah, man, so for me, seeing Church in Our Places do what it's doing, by God's grace, I developed some curriculum called Cultivate, which Pastor Steve, Pastor Tommy, and all the networks, the 5 networks, we have area leads, and each one are doing. And man, and a vision of mine for the past 10, 15 years, one of my spiritual heroes was a former slave named Francis Grimke, who went on to, some would say PhD, others would say MDiv at Princeton Seminary under Charles Hodge, and then pastored the church for some 59 years in Washington, D.C. So and he was even with you, he was Presbyterian.
Yeah.
And
Dutch Reform, but Presbyterian, same thing, different vernacular.
okay. Well, we forgive you. We forgive you. My kids were baptized in full immersion. I would have sprinkled them if I wanted to, but I just didn't. But nonetheless, but Grimke, man, is a vision, a dream to really train pastors in context, for context. By God's grace, I get to be the first president and one of the architects along with my team. Pastor Brian Laughlin, Dr. Tony Marita, Dr. Dwayne Bond, Chris Atwell. So we've got a good, fun little crew. And man, we just want to invest in A29 churches and beyond that. Yeah. But particularly, we want to try to lead the way in educating, training, and developing, particularly in the hard places, because that area has been so neglected. So by God's grace, man, I get to serve there. I get to serve with people like Steve, Tommy Forrester, Tyler St. Clair. I'm going here to do a conference in Florida called, as soon as I leave tomorrow, called The Good News for These Streets, and with Jay Harris in Orlando. I get to work with Harvey. I get to work with old crazy Brian Howard, and man, and with you, and with Talk A Lot here. Talk A Lot. And Tiny. And you always got a big guy, Tiny. And man, so we just want to change. We want to contribute to the new urban frontier of ministry. So I got 3 grandkids, and I want them to be able to walk in a church that any one of y'all planted and can walk in and say, man, I heard the gospel. I want to be able to say, Uncle Steve, Uncle Rudy, Uncle Brian, this is one of the parts. They invested in it. Have a variety of churches to choose from.
So the kind of planters that we're talking about, we're not talking about people that had to have grown up in a Christian home with white picket fence, with apple pie and all that, because I was telling you earlier, Brian, how I heard on one of your guys' podcasts that you were doing with who you're doing it with?
Tony Marita.
With Tony Marita, and I was listening to it, and they were talking about Harvey, right?
Yeah.
I think it had something to do, was it fundraising? And they brought up your past. And I was like, oh, that's my dude. Like, you know, I didn't even know him though. I'm like, oh, I fit into that category.
Yeah.
I fit in really well.
I was an entrepreneur before.
An entrepreneur.
I was in pharmaceuticals too.
Urban pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, exactly. Big pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
You know?
And the clientele that I supply for their needs.
Hey, international. But it's dope. It's dope to see people from different backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, socioeconomic and educational backgrounds.
Yeah.
Like, how many countries?
51.
How many languages?
31 languages.
You know what I'm saying? For the sole purpose of the gospel of Jesus Christ, his life, death, resurrection, and ascension.
That's good.
So all who believe will be saved.
Yeah.
You know? So you may be white, I may be Mexican, you may have been from Reno, I may be from the hood down there. But we're here together doing the same thing, the same kind of background.
I love what you guys are doing, man. I've been following what you guys are doing, and I love how you're mentoring young men and how you're bringing Reformed theology. Like I saw you reading Bob Inc. with some dudes. And
Voss. Gerardus Voss.
Yeah. So I'm just like, Yeah.
They're all the same.
I
They all
just-
look alike.
I love it, man.
These cats is doing that at the marketplace. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Plaza de Mexico.
It's not
now.
the marketplace
I know it's
anymore,
Plaza de Mexico, but that was the marketplace back in the day. We used
I
to
want
run-
Plataleos at the marketplace.
Man, we used to run crazy stuff up in there. You seeing y'all at Cafe Canela all the time with the men. I'm a big fan. I always say that. I think Rudy has some weird ways about him, you know. But it's like that's what's attractive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's this magnetic, this synergy that you get swept up into. So I just want to affirm that too.
It's all Jesus, bro. It's all Jesus. Anything else you guys want to add? Because I know Brian. I don't want to hold Brian hostage, man.
Brian got to get back to Malibu.
I'll just speak
Malibu.
I'll speak on behalf of all the normal people, since I'm not one of the famous guys here. All the normal church planters. If you're gonna plant a church, the stuff that these men are teaching are extremely essential to what you're doing. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm more Calvinistic than John Calvin. I'm more Reformed than Luther. But I've understood the importance of contextualization, even though John MacArthur's assistant pastor rebuked me for using that word. But yeah,
That's a whole other subject.
contextualization is important.
That's not a biblical word.
Oh, that's a great word.
That's a great word, ain't it?
Neither is the word Bible.
It's a big, and it's a big word too. So what's up?
Especially, hey, MacArthur's my favorite preacher. Even though I'm a Presbyterian, MacArthur's my favorite
Exactly,
preacher.
bro.
But learning.
Disclaimer.
It got
Learning-
quiet.
You know, disclaimer. I say he's a whack job, bro. He's one of the best expositors ever, but
I love you.
You gotta make it
His old age
controversial if it's gonna be a good
I learned how
podcast.
to preach. Somebody gave me a box of his tapes back in the day. I had a little.
I got that was
That's
I
all
got a
you
box of
use.
tapes.
Brian,
No, hey, I just want to say,
we be
I just
quiet.
want to return the favor. You can learn a lot from this man right here if you're planting in the hood. He's from the hood.
Y'all
Even
got
though-
on the block,
even
go
though
get
he
on the
be-
block.
Even though he betrayed the hood by wearing pink socks and skinny jeans today, but nevertheless,
Call all on.
this man buy his book on the block,
Crazy guy.
and
And let's talk about another book. So in one sentence, what is your book about?
My book is about doing urban ministry in the where life happens, out on the street,
On the
not
block.
just in the. It's
And that's what it's called, On the Block.
On the block.
By
on the
Doug
block.
Logan Jr. We got another author in
Friend
the
of
house.
Sinners is the name of it.
Friend of Sinners.
I endorse that book. It's a great book.
It's a basic idea is Jesus went to the people that were notoriously sinful. And if we're not doing that, we're not on the same mission he is.
Yeah.
So that's the basic idea.
I stole that out of a new member packet at your church when we
Okay.
visited, and it's sitting on my desk.
All right.
So I'm like,
All
yeah,
right.
I've been rocking with you for
Yeah.
a
Good
bit.
And have you written anything? Right?
No books. All of my stuff's in Pastor Guide.
And Pastor Guy?
He just writes checks.
So what is Pastor? Tell us what Pastor Guy is. If anybody listening or watching, because I was looking at the screen before, during the conference, and there was a whole bunch of stuff in there that you do.
Yeah, so I've spent the last 15 years coaching lots and lots of pastors, hundreds of pastors. And essentially what I've done is I've put together a coaching program for pastors and Christian leaders that's called Pastor Guide. There's a couple hundred people in it. In fact, they're watching me right now. Essentially it's 90 videos and it's an online forum. So everybody's engaging every day in that forum. And I go on live once a week and teach in that. And so that's where all my stuff is right now.
Dope. Have you written anything yet, Chris?
I what did I write? I wrote something on Facebook today.
That's good.
Hey,
Steve, have you written anything?
no, but we need to go on record, right? Because we already told you.
Okay, what?
We don't need your doctorate. We need your
I know
book.
he told me that. I told him I'm working on
Yeah,
two different
so
things.
we don't need your degree.
And
we
I'm
need your
doing
book.
I'm doing my blog like once
Absolutely.
every other week because he
Hey.
used that line on me one time.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say where we were at nor what we were doing because somebody might have been recording. But we were in LA and he was telling me like I was kind of like trying to push up on him a little bit like I'm starting my doctorate already. He was like, bro, the hood don't need your doctorate.
Yeah, we need your
And I was like just let all the air out of my balloon. What did he goes, bro? The hood needs your story.
That's good.
The hood needs you to document your journey, how you got there, leave something behind. That's when he told me
That's good.
the story about that Latino pastor, right?
Yeah.
That he and I was like, oh man, and I started talking about it to some people, and I ain't gonna lie, some people were kind of hating like, you ain't no expert. I was like, bro, I'm not trying to claim I'm an expert. You know what I mean? Like I want to share my experience.
That's
That's right.
Who else has planted a
To the
church
glory of God.
in South LA from
Word
a
up.
reform perspective?
Word up.
And like.
And it's
Me?
not just the hood that needs
Besides us.
it's not just the hood that needs that your
Yeah,
guys'
yeah.
content.
Exactly.
I'm learning by
Exactly.
watching you guys and listening to you guys
I'm
as
trying
well.
to tell you.
Yeah, right.
I'm over in Hollywood, man.
Yeah.
And it's just different. totally different, but there's so much applicable. Like Doug's book, before I replanted or started to revitalize this church, I read Doug's book, sent him a text, and man, the book was so helpful. So On the Block translates all over the place.
Oh, and remember, Harvey and I wrote books. They weren't what to do books. They were what we did books.
Yeah,
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Like we weren't pulling expert. We were trying to show the scriptures through our stories and elements to encourage, inspire, and inform people to do so you don't feel like you alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't doing the Jedi Knight and calling everybody a Padawan.
Yeah.
We were all Padawans, telling each other about our Padawan stories.
And I think the day we stop being Padawans, we're no longer fit to stand in the pulpit. We got to continue to learn all the time, right?
Only one Jedi, baby.
So yo, when I say I'm really honored, like when you said like, how did you get Brian to come? Like I just asked, bro. You know what I mean?
Good.
We were talking, Doug. We did one yesterday at the basement, and it was a couple of homies. He did, and then I seen Doug. Cause every time I see Doug, like, yo, Doug, we did a podcast a month ago in Florida.
And Steve made me late.
Oh, so you're making him?
Oh.
He's the one, bro. He got like 1 million fans. Can I get autograph?
Yeah, I was like, I thought I was carrying your bag.
I lie a lot
By the
too.
way, you spit some fire. You spit some
God be
fire.
the glory,
You
man.
shot some fire.
We had some fun.
I don't know how your wife doesn't get embarrassed, bro. Every time you put her on blast. Every time
She's not here. She's not here.
when we were in Spanish River, I'm like, yo, Angel's in the front row. I'm like, your wife's right there, dude.
Amen, Doc.
But seriously, Brian, Harvey, Doug, Steve, Chris, like, to get you guys in a room and just talk and just be able to share, just like, yo, this is our heart. It's about the gospel. It's about church planting globally, like all over the place. It's dope.
Yeah.
Is that your funny side? Hey, what's that dude's name from Sesame Street? The something Wally the Eagle or something? Joe's like this. I remember I posted a meme one time and I said MacArthur preaching on joy.
Oh, I saw that, Joey. I saw that.
That's Chris, bro. Hey guys, any closing comments on before we close out or finish up for today?
Man, Rick Grimke is starting class in January. Still time to register. Church in Our Place is going to be having a host of conferences on next year. Come through. If you want to plant a church, A29 is the place that we want you to do it with us.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's right.
I got
Good.
So real quick, Brian, if anybody's in your neck of the woods on Sunday, where do they need to go to church at? What gospel preaching church can they find you and your family at?
In my church, King's, or the Village Church in Irvine.
Okay, cool. What time? Where at?
Village Church is at 10 o'clock on, I can't remember because we were sent out from there 3 years ago.
Google it. It's in
They got
Irvine.
a couple times now, yeah. But
Check out
Ted's
King's Cross, Chris Pobletti in Rancho Santa Margarita at 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings.
Quick story. So he told me he's in Rancho Santa Margarita. I go, dude, my cousin lives in Rancho Santa Margarita. And he's going to a Foursquare church. Forgive me if y'all Pentecostal.
The
I'm sorry.
bridge, the bridge, the bridge.
So yeah, so I connected him and my cousin, and I think my cousin lives right across the street from RSM Intermediate where they're meeting at. So
Oh, yeah.
he's gonna be going, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And Harvey, we know you're Redeemer Burbank. Where's that at?
Burbank!
Burbank. So Burbank is like right next to Hollywood. So it's like our church is 2 blocks from like LA City proper. So it's right there. And it's kind of the center of the entertainment industry. We're across the street from Disney Studios.
Literally across the street.
Literally,
Yeah.
down the street from Warner Brothers. A lot of people in our church are in the entertainment industry. And
Yeah.
Don't promote him. He's too
Y'all
close
got
to
about
us, bro.
So
What time and what's the address?
So coffee at 10 and service at 10:30.
What's the address?
2201 Alameda.
Alameda.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And if anybody like slept in or just had a late night or they're just not early people, they're just not early people.
4 o'clock
right?
Ventura.
They can
You
get
know?
to they can get to Ventura from anywhere, boy.
Arise Church, baby!
I'm trying to tell you, from anywhere.
At 4 o'clock.
There's no
Arise.
LA traffic on
And
Sunday.
none, man. I got to and from LA to the house in 58 minutes on a Sunday. But anyway, ariseventura.com. It's all the information. We meet at 4 o'clock in the afternoons.
And still I rise.
Yes, yes, sir.
How about you, Doug? Where is home for the bishop?
I live in the woods in Richmond, Virginia, RVA, baby. I'm service church planting, pastor of church planting at Remnant Church. Got 2 locations, 9 and 11 downtown, 11 midtown, on Arthur Ashe Boulevard. So come through. We got some good coffee. We got a good Jesus.
I love what y'all doing.
And
Yeah.
you can take me out afterwards, and I can, talk some junk. And you
Man,
can
I
pray
went
for
to
me.
Richmond. and again, we're just gonna talk about Spurgeon today. I was reading some of his biographies, and that's right where y'all meet. Did you know that's where they did the book burners at?
I didn't know.
Yeah, yo. They pulled all his stuff together. They burned his books because he was trying to talk about the abolitionist slavery.
Yeah.
And and when I'm driving through the neighborhood and I'm still seeing Confederate flags
Wow.
and all that, I'm like, that.
What was that? Hey, what was that book they wrote? I have it. I forgot what it's called. I read it. Where they had a parallel with him and the slave dude, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Steal Away Home.
It's called Steal Away Home.
Yeah,
Steal
that's
Away
a good
Home.
book. That's a good
And
book.
you know that's
My wife's favorite book.
That's two A29 guys down in Texas
Awesome.
who wrote that up.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
Well, you can burn my book as long as you pay for it. You can burn 20 of them if you pay for them.
And Chris, if anybody is in the Linwood, Compton, Watts area, where should they go to church on Sunday?
To RCLA 12 p.m. and next year in September, Wilmington 6 p.m.
But if you're in the Harbor area right now, you can go to a Bible study at 1205 East Rubio.
Yes.
Tonight, 7 p.m. in Wilmington, RCLA Bible study.
You gonna be back on time?
No.
No.
Somebody else gonna teach.
You weren't supposed to ask us that live, bro, because you ain't gonna go because I know we're not gonna be there.
I mean, they figured that out.
They don't know what time we're catching our flight, man. You know,
I sent Chris Timer, look,
Hey,
he's gonna be there just
hey, so look, I got another one. All y'all in LA that's looking at this, because maybe you follow Rudy, you got some connections there, and you know you still trying to figure the church thing out. The Forum on Sunday at 2:00. It's a Sunday service. Kanye is gonna be there. They got about a 7-minute. Oh, it's a 7-minute gospel presentation. Just go listen to that this Sunday.
Yeah.
how much does it cost to go?
$20.
$20.
You ain't even supposed to say that. Let them show up. And it's $20.
All right.
Yeah.
Not bad.
So anyway,
You gotta pay rent, right?
yeah, you got to.
I ain't got no money.
Yep.
But we ain't judging his salvation. We said that people are trying to do a DNA check to see if he's really got Jesus' blood in his veins.
Yeah, man, he's a Christian to me.
Folks are way out.
He's a
man.
Christian
Folks are way out.
till I find out otherwise, and I don't care if I find out otherwise. I'm celebrating.
That's
I
right.
heard on the thing that
That's
about
right.
1,000 people came to Christ.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
please.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Kanye, if you listening, come get with us, bro.
Yeah.
Come to Grimkey.
Come on, come on. I got a seminary.
Hey,
We got seminary. We got
hey.
training.
I already-
Brian will give you all
yeah.
his files.
I posted a picture of Kanye holding up the Westminster like that. I got a lot of Baptists. He's upset, brother. Like, ain't funny, homie.
I got love for Westminster.
I don't.
I like a couple editions on it.
They basically plagiarized it. Of course they love it, bro.
Oh!
I can't take this anywhere, bro.
Wow.
1649, 1689. I don't know.
I'm 1563, bro. I'm 1563. I'm more fond to the Heidelberg. The three forms of
I
heat.
like the Heidelberg.
Yeah.
I like lunch.
You like lunch? Speaking of,
Let's go get that.
So, yo, Acts 29, church in hard places, global, diverse family.
Yes.
That's the three key
That's
words.
it.
Global,
That's what I said.
diverse family.
That's it.
So you got Orange County, you got San Fernando Valley and Burbank.